The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
This is David Schoeneman. I'm with Access Nashua. We're here at the Hollis Brookline High School for the Ham Radio Field Day 2017. Today is the setup day. We're on Friday, and tomorrow and Sunday will be the actual competition day. It's a big event. It calls for all ham operators in the area to come together and to compete against other ham radio operators around the country in an emergency preparedness scenario. I'm here with Dennis Mirandis, whose call sign is K1LGQ. And Dennis, you're a ham operator as part of this organization, is that correct?
I am. I have been into amateur radio for 58 years.
Wow, that's great. 58 years. So you started when you were a young child.
I was 12 when I heard about it, 13 when I got into it, and it has not stopped.
Good for you. I think it's great to pursue a dream. You know, I'm a pilot, and I pursued aviation when I was a kid, and I liked that when I was 12. And you liked ham radio operating when you were 12.
I got the information from the local Nashua Club. At that time, it used to be on Glenwood Avenue, where the clubhouse has since been torn down, and something better has been put in its place.
Now, tell us what ham, where did the name ham come from? Why do they call ham operators ham? Does ham stand for anything, H-A-M?
No, unfortunately, ham is one of those derogatory names that came out many, many, many years ago, and it has since risen to a new meaning. Originally, fellows used to get on the radio, and they used to put sparks together, and they used to just make a spark that was received 20, 30, 40 miles away.
How'd they make a spark?
They got two pieces of wire and a lot of electricity, and they would just simply push them together.
Now, when I was a kid, my mom told me don't stick my fingers in the sockets. So you're saying that people stuck wires in sockets and made sparks, and they started communicating?
Actually, it was something similar to that, a little technical, but they actually had flywheels, and the flywheels would be turning, and every time they pushed a key, it would spark, and that could be heard all over the neighborhood. Well, the neighbors were just getting into AM radio, and it turned out that they created an awful lot of noise. So some renegade ham would be down the street, or an amateur would be down the street, and the neighbors would say, well, that's some ham bone doing a lot of noise. So that's pejoratively, that's how the name came about.
Well, that's certainly a good story, but that's not how it is today. Today it's a really very professional group that uses amateur radio equipment to communicate around the world. So tell us about this event that we're setting up for today. We're here at the Hollis Brookline High School, of course, and this is a competition event.
This is a countrywide competition. It's called Field Day. Originally, it was a test to see within 24 hours could we set up a station in case of an emergency. Well, it has somewhat subsided from the emergency, although it's in the background. Now it's a camaraderie where we have club members across the country who would do anything just to set up a station and talk to others across the country. The number of contacts is the winner, and it's in a 24-hour contest period. It will begin Saturday at 2 p.m. and will conclude Sunday at 2 p.m. And that is the contest. The number of contacts that you make is the winner.
And how do you log your contacts, the contacts that you're making, so that we know that it's truthfully recorded around the country?
We have progressed to technology. We now are using computers, and the computers key in the contact that we make. Every contact is a different call letter. Mine is K1LGQ. There are others, such as the Nashua Club, which is N1FD. And the idea is that if we make a mistake and we contact you 2 times, it only counts for 1. So we are pretty certain that the number of contacts and the legitimate number of contacts is good.
How many people are in your group, and how large is the geographic area for your club?
The club has over 150 members, and we are the Nashua Area Radio Club. So it's not specifically Nashua. We have members from Massachusetts. There's about a dozen towns in Massachusetts, as well as a number of people here in New Hampshire. They extend to Concord and Londonderry, and they go to Mason, and we have fellows from Peterborough who come to our meetings. So it's not just a one-town deal. The number of people range from 11, 12 years old up to up into their 80s.
So
And
there are some young kids, 11 and 12 years old, who are the same age you were when you started in this.
I was 12 years old when I got started, and yes, there are a couple of girls who
great.
are taking Morse code lessons. Morse code is no longer needed. It's not required by the FCC, and we find that Morse code was a deterrent. Now that the FCC no longer requires Morse code, more people are interested in doing it.
I see.
So these young ladies have learned Morse code, and they're pretty proud of it.
Well, I can imagine why. I think it's a great skill to learn.
And they do have their license, by the way.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Like any hobby, if you want to spend a lot of money, you can.
Mm-hmm.
I particularly don't want to, and so I'm quite happy with what I've had for the last 10, 15 years.
Now, with the equipment that you have, how far away can you reach somebody?
I talk worldwide. There isn't a corner of this world that I have not spoken, and it's in real time. When you speak to somebody, you're speaking to them immediately. You're not going through any computers, and there's no lag time.
As if you were sitting with them in the room.
As if you were sitting with them in the room.
What do you guys talk about?
We talk about the weather, we talk about the kids, we talk about being retired, we talk about, of course, older people talk about their ailments, Oh, how many pills are you taking? So it's kind of interesting. But primarily we talk about the gear. We talk about antennas, talk about how much power, and there's a lot of, sometimes we can get very technical. And that's kind of interesting.
So let's get back to the event for today. So we're doing the setup today. We see some antennas in the background here. What are those antennas going to be used for? Besides transmitting, how are they going to be used to facilitate your progress in this?
We have 3 towers we're going to be putting up. These are 2 40-foot towers with antennas that have been prescribed to look and work perfectly. And we have another 60-foot tower that is used for anybody who wants to come to the event and use it. It's called GOTA, G-O-T-A, Get On the Air, which means that if you or I, who didn't have a license, we could walk in and sit down and we could talk to people across the country.
I see, but you have to have a license otherwise. So
Ordinarily.
essentially when they come here, if they're here tomorrow, then they have a chance to speak on the air without having that license.
There will be somebody in the background making sure that everything is running well.
How would somebody find out about your group? Let's say they see this video and they want to get involved themselves, come to a meeting. How can somebody find out about your group?
We have meetings, and the meetings are held in Nashua. They're held at the First Church at the top of Library Hill, and they are on the first Tuesday of every month.
Okay.
And the meetings begin at 7 o'clock, and the coffee and donut hour is at 6:30.
So do you have a website that they can refer themselves to?
It's n1fd.org.
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 And your meetings are on the first Tuesday of every month at the First Church, top of Library Hill in Nashua.
That's the place. And don't be shy. Everybody who comes there, somebody will recognize you and say hello. And if you're a newbie and you don't know anybody, just say, I'm new. And then you have 16 people on you.
I'm here talking now with John Halbert, who is also with the organization that is running this Field Day event. John, tell us a little bit about your involvement here, what your role is in the club, and what you're doing here today.
Well, this is my 30th year doing Field Day. It's an exciting thing to be involved in. I've been a member of the club since 1980. I basically do a lot of the publicity that takes place as far as getting the word out, do the posters, put the posters up, do radio blitzes, public service announcements, all that sort of thing. And basically get the word out to the public, let them know what we're doing, why we're here, and what emergencies could happen. Because if there is a natural emergency, you're not going to be able to pick up your cell phone and go, no, it won't work, because you will not have any electricity to run that. But the only way you can do that, of course, is through the benefits of ham radio, because number one, when you have a citizens band radio, you're stuck on one frequency, and you're limited to about 3 watts of power, whereas ham radio has multiple frequencies and has limited power, has an unlimited power up to 1,500 watts of power. But most hams operate anywhere from 5 to 100 to 150, maximum about 200. So you really don't need a lot of power. All you need is enough power to carry out the conversation or the necessary emergency. If you have a scanner, you can pick up 2-meter FM and you'll hear people talking in their cars on their way to work. Or, in their boats, airplanes. They have them. There was a gentleman that takes the Amtrak all the way from Portland, Maine to Boston, and he has an antenna that he sticks on the window, and he talks on his way to work to Boston every day,
Oh, that's great.
which is kind of neat. But the interesting thing about ham radio is it's fun, and it doesn't really cost a lot. To get your license now is a lot easier than it used to be. You don't need to know Morse code. If you want to learn it, you can learn it. We have classes that'll teach you that. But it's so much easier now, and some of the questions have been changed. And it's we teach the classes. It's a 2-day class, 8 to 6 on Saturday, and 8 to 6 on Sunday. And it's taught at the Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center. We have the website, and it has the dates of the classes. So we'll start off now. Our next set of classes will be the technician class, which is the first license that you need to get. And if you pass that, you can go and take the general class, which would be element 2, or element 3 rather, and then element 4, which would be the extra class.
I see.
And we are very well, rehearsed as far as, that's why we have all these antennas up here. We had one of the biggest operations ever a few years back. We had 29 ham radio stations running at the same time, and it became the biggest ham operation ever.
What was the occasion for that?
Field Day.
Field Day. I see.
And we set up 29 stations, all kinds of antennas all around. We had a different location than here, but we vary the location year to year. It depends who will let us come and so forth. We've either been at Wasserman Park or we've been here. And we used to be at a place up the street. And but this is something that we do every year. We like people to come out and see just what ham radio is. We love the youth to come out because we're trying to get youth involved in ham radio because it's a lot of fun for them.
Yes.
You can do contesting of all kinds, not just field day. This is basically fun for us, but it's actually an emergency preparedness exercise to see how quickly we can erect antennas and get stations up and running in the case of a natural emergency. And a few years back, if you remember the Alton Bay floods that they had up there, ham radio went into play there, and when Governor Lynch was in office, he was so impressed at how fast and how quickly amateur radio played a role in that he made a proclamation that as long as he's governor of the state of New Hampshire, I declare every June amateur radio month. So really, in case of a natural emergency or a disaster, like with all the tornadoes, ham radio is doing their thing right now. You're not picking up a phone, I need help. No. We have a command post set up. We have stations all around different locations, fire departments, police departments, hospitals. Nashua is the same way. We have one set up at all of Nashua. City Hall has one. And they run practice drills as well in Portsmouth. They have a club over there, and they do practice drills once a month, where this is a practice drill, not a national emergency. It's a practice only. Don't be alarmed, whatever. And they say, okay, they give somebody, you go to Whitworth Douglas Hospital, set up a station there. You go, you take out the radio, connect it all up, and you commit to the command post and say, this is so-and-so, and I'm ready to go. And you stand by and wait for further instructions. It's been fun for me for 38 years, and I belong to this club, and it's been a big thrill for me. I work with some of the best people around, and our club is very willing to help other people that need help for doing whatever. If you have an antenna problem, well, are you available Saturday? We'll come out and help you get back up and running. And it's just a nice little hobby. It's a relaxing hobby. It's not as cheap as golf, but I suppose but like I said, but ham radio. I mean, ham radios here you can buy used equipment, and they have radios now. You can buy them little handheld portables that are no bigger than a transistor radio for like $50, and that's 5 watts of power, and you can talk all over the world. You can hit repeaters all across. You can go from here to California if you hit the right repeaters on 5 watts. Wow. And our club president, Fred, is a very worthy, into ham radio, very
Great.
heavily.
We'll talk to Fred in just a moment.
Yeah, Fred has been our president for 2 years. He's done marvelous with the club. The club has never been better. In the last few years, I've seen this club grow. A funny story, we used to meet for breakfast on a Saturday at a restaurant that's no longer in business in Hudson, and we used to have the same waitress. Well, you know, the Nashua Area Radio Club spells NARC, N-A-R-C. So this one Saturday we had 30 people going for breakfast, and we walked in and the waitress saw us and she says, "Oh look," she says, "the narcs are here." People got up and it was just so funny to see
Maybe
that.
that's why they're not in business anymore.
Yeah, but you know, but like I said, we go to we meet for breakfast on Saturdays. We go for pizza on Thursday nights, and we are always willing. And Fred will have to tell you about the helium balloon project, because that was a huge success for us. And Fred knows all about it. The balloon's going to be here tomorrow, but he'll be here. to
Well,
tell
we'll
you
hear about that in just a moment. I'm here with Fred Kemmerer, who is the president of the organization that is putting on this event that will be taking place this week. This is the Field Day event.
That's correct. This is basically a combination of emergency preparedness exercise and a contest for us.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole purpose behind doing this is if there's ever a real emergency, we can go to a public site like this, build a fairly complicated radio station. We're going to have 11 transmitters, 3 towers, and a whole bunch of antennas and equipment here. We'll take 24 hours to set it all up. We'll run it for 24 hours. We'll take it all down, take it back home, and be ready for the real emergency if it ever happens.
Have you ever had to set up for a real emergency in the Nashua area?
Not so much anything serious. Ice storms, bad weather, we get involved in sometimes in those activities. But amateur radio, for example, when the earthquakes took place in Nepal, amateur radio operators were some of the first people in there, along with the Red Cross, trying to set communications back up. When the floods happened in New Orleans, the same sort of thing. So amateur radio operators pretty much stand at the ready for whatever happens.
Well, that sounds great. I think that the citizens would be grateful to know that, because if something goes down, we lose our power grid or whatever, we need to be able to get the word out to folks, and people need to be hearing what they should be doing and how they should be working their own situation.
That's exactly right. And you have all different kinds of things. You know, for example, the police station here in Hollis has amateur radio equipment in it. Most of the hospitals have amateur radio equipment in it. And it doesn't necessarily just need to be a failure of the communications infrastructure. It could very well be that the stuff just becomes overloaded. When 9/11 occurred in New York City, amateur radio operators were some of the only people that had reliable communications because the normal infrastructure was completely overloaded in the emergency.
Tell us a little bit about the organization that you're part of here in Nashua, in the Nashua, greater Nashua area, I should say.
Right, sure. We're the Nashua Area Radio Club. We're probably the oldest and easily the largest radio club in the area. We currently have about 160 members. We're very focused on bringing new people and young people into amateur radio. We do that with a bunch of different things. We teach license classes, 6 of them a year, over at Dartmouth Hitchcock in Nashua. We put about 130 people through those license classes with over a 95% success rate in getting people licensed and upgrades. We do a lot of work with local schools. We just launched a high altitude balloon to almost 100,000 feet with several groups of high school students here.
Tell us about that project.
Yeah, so that was sort of an interesting one. We started working with Bishop Girton High School and Merrimack High School here in the area. And we had 2 teachers there that particularly helped us put together a whole STEM, a science, technology, engineering, and math curriculum. We went in the schools and we taught 5 sessions varying between an hour and a half and 2.5 hours to 9th grade and up high school students in their science and physics classes. And then we built a high altitude helium-filled balloon.
You built the balloon?
We built the balloon
Out of what?
platform. Well, basically lightweight materials, a small computer, a radio transmitter, and we put 2 GoPro cameras on it. One that looked out off the balloon and one that looked up at the balloon. We launched it. It went all the way into northeast Rhode Island before it landed. Got to 90-some thousand feet, I think 94, 95,000 feet. And the balloon burst, and we were able to track it with radio equipment, and we knew exactly where it came down. There's actually a video on our public information tent of the flight of the balloon where you can actually see what that looks like.
Can that be found online as well?
Yes, it can. If you go on our website, www.n1fd.org, it's right on our homepage.
90,000 feet is pretty high.
Yeah, 90,000 feet is pretty high. Well, you know, with the pressure at that altitude was about less than 5% of what it is on the ground.
Wow.
And the temperature got as low as about minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And of course, the balloon traveled a tremendous distance. We launched it from Winchester, New Hampshire, which is about as far as west as we could go. And it went completely across Massachusetts and landed in northeastern Rhode Island.
Now, when the balloon burst, how do you have a landing after a balloon bursts?
Well, we actually have a flight line with a parachute, a 36-inch
see.
parachute on it that kind of goes up with the balloon. And when the balloon bursts, for the first several thousand feet, there's so little air, it just accelerates and comes down very rapidly until it gets down to maybe 35,000 feet, where there's enough atmosphere to open the parachute. and then it'll descend fairly slowly and come down to the ground. We got all our equipment back, got our
Great.
cameras back, and made a tremendous video out of it. It was very,
sure.
very cool.
I'm sure you had to coordinate with the FAA and all the air
Yes,
traffic
we learned how
controllers.
to file a flight plan.
Uh-huh.
We did all that kind of stuff, and we waited till we had a day with clear enough weather, so
Mm-hmm.
you know, we wouldn't be in a situation where an airplane pilot couldn't see the balloon
Sure.
and run into it.
What else is your club working on? What other projects do you have
Well,
going on?
we have an awful lot of stuff going on with higher frequency projects right now. We're going to be setting up a satellite ground station over there that will actually track satellites. And there's about 15 amateur radio satellites in orbit right now that we can use, and more going up all the time.
Really? That I
Yep,
did not know.
Yep, there's amateur radio equipment on the space station, on the ISS. We're
So
hoping
if-
to make some contacts through that this weekend.
If there's a satellite going by, then can you transmit to that satellite for it to be relayed somewhere
Yep,
else?
and it basically will go up on one frequency band, the satellite repeats it and sends it back down. We can make contact through the satellites as far as Europe and as far west as California quite easily. We've done that many, many times. So we're doing that kind of stuff. We run something called a tech night because we have so many new amateurs in the club. We do a lot of work to try to train people on how to build stations and how radio technology and all that works. And we have one meeting a month where members come in and they just talk about a certain amateur radio topic, like how to build your first station, or how to build a satellite station, or how to make an antenna, or whatever. So we do a lot of work with education. It's all kind of part of our focus on new hams and young people. Many people in our club got started in engineering and technical careers through amateur radio, and we're sort of hoping to pass that gift on to maybe some
Of
more
course,
people.
and it is a gift. You know, it is a gift. I think these kids are growing up. It's better than staring into their phones all day, right? They
That's
can actually
exactly
talk
right.
to somebody halfway around the world.
Well, you know, we like to say that amateur radio was the first real social network. Before there was Facebook and all those kinds of things, you know, we were making friends all over the world. And the cool thing about amateur radio is, you know, people say, well, you have a cell phone. Why would you want amateur radio? But the question would be, can you dial a random number in Europe and find somebody who you immediately have somebody in common to talk to? See, as amateur radio operators, we do that every day. I have friends in places like Syria and Palestine. Nobody in North Korea. It's pretty hard to get on the air there.
Yeah, I
But a
imagine
lot
so.
of places where, you know, even though our governments don't do such a good job, amateur radio operators don't have any trouble. And that's probably one of the other real purposes that amateur radio has around the world. A lot of goodwill is built that way. The difference between normal radio and amateur radio is we have the authority to transmit, and therefore we become regulated by the FCC. Now, it's interesting, amateur radio has frequency allocations from almost the low frequency bands that submarine uses all the way up to daylight, to light. And we have little swaths of spectrum over that whole range, and we're the only free license service in the world that has access to radio frequencies. Everybody else has to buy licenses and
The
auctions.
licensing is free.
The licensing is free. You pay a small fee to take the test and go through. It's like $30, but there's no charge to actually license the spectrum. Whereas,
see.
say, Verizon might pay $1 billion for a chunk of spectrum to use for
Sure.
cellular stuff. So we're very, very fortunate to have access to it.
That sounds great. If you wanted to encourage folks to come out and get involved, how would you sum up what you do and why someone should get involved?
Why should someone get involved?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it's tremendously challenging to build a radio station, put it on the air, and see it work. There's a lot of rewarding satisfaction in being able to do that. You make a tremendous number of friends all over the world. You actually learn to love geography. I don't know, when you were in school, if you liked geography, most people didn't.
Wasn't my favorite.
But amateur radio operators love geography because we try to make one contact at least to every country in the world in our lifetime.
I see.
And you make a tremendous number of great friends. You know, you can see we have maybe 25, 30 people here today between what's here and on the lower field, and they're all pitching in and building a radio station. So it's a lot of fun, and you don't need to spend a lot of money or necessarily be all that technically skilled to do it. We have one girl in our club. If you come tomorrow, you get to meet her. She's got the highest class amateur radio license. I think she just turned 12 years old or just turned 13, and she does not have a technical background at all, but she really loves amateur radio.
That sounds great. Now, will you guys be here all night setting up?
We're going to be here probably till it gets so dark and we get so tired that we can't finish anymore, and then we'll come back tomorrow morning and finish up. We'll start to operate at around 2 o'clock.
Okay.
We're going to go for exactly 24 hours and see how many stations we can talk to. It'll be probably well over 1,000 contacts that'll be made here in that amount of time. And then we'll take it all down, and by the time it's this time on Sunday night, you'll come here and you'll never know we were here.
Now, how are you going to be judged, and who is going to do the judging, and when will you find out if you've won?
Well, you know, it's not formally a contest, but we all send
Okay.
our scores into our sponsoring organization, the American Radio Relay League, and there are different categories depending on how many transmitters you have active. Now, we're going to be in a category called 7 Alpha, which means 7 official transmitters on emergency power, on generator or battery or solar. And the rules give us a bunch of free ones, so by the time we're all done, we're actually going to have 11 transmitters on the air. That's kind of maybe a top 20% kind of category. There are stations that go all the way up to 20 transmitters. We would need a much bigger place to operate than we have here. But because we have so many new people in the club, we're kind of staying in kind of these middle categories. The club actually won the overall field. They had the highest score of any club anywhere in the United States several times in its past.
Wow.
And we have all the equipment, but with all the new amateurs, we're trying to, you know, stay down a couple notches till people have a chance to learn how to do all this stuff and hone their operating skills. But we'll eventually get back there.
That sounds great. Well, I hope you have a great turnout tomorrow, and best of luck with the competition.
And thanks for the opportunity to talk about amateur radio.
So, this is a tent where we have 20 meters and 40 meters single sideband, that's voice. And it's not on the center frequency, it's just a little bit off on either one. They're running on the upper sideband. One is on 20 meters, the other is on 40 meters. That's how long the wavelength is, whether it's which frequency it's going to be on. These folks will be here for 24 hours and operate constantly for 24 hours. They will shift operators and stuff. Like somewhere's around midnight, I'll be in here. And then someone will relieve me probably at 2 o'clock. But again, we're logging every single contact they make. Goes into our master computer, shows up, as you saw on the public information tent, shows up our score. And yes, we do get scored for everyone who is signed in for the business day, so that's a very important thing.
November 18th. There's the one that we needed. There was 2 Delta, Ohio.
Got it.
7 Alpha, November Hotel. And what was the call again? What was the call?
Copy 2 Alpha, South Carolina.
Can we get the section again, please?
2 Alpha, South Carolina. 2 Alpha, South Carolina.
Okay, thank you for the call. 73, November 1, Foxtrot Delta, Rosen.
Copy, good luck. Alpha Delta 9, radio. Alpha Delta 9, radio.
Alpha Delta 9, radio. Please copy 7 Alpha, November Hotel.
Please copy 3 Alpha, Illinois. 3 Alpha, radio.
QSL, good luck. November 1, Foxtrot Delta, QSL.
All right, the tent over here, okay, we're looking at the back side of the satellite. We're going to walk around here. This is Curtis, who's running the satellite station right now.
Do you have a team that one does the logging and one does the contacts, or is it
Most
everybody
times it's a two-person. I got it back. Most times it is a two-person team. Someone doing the contact, someone doing the logging. Now Curtis is watching. I mean, there's only so many communication satellites going overhead. On the internet, you can get a schedule of when they're coming over, what their frequency is, what their azimuth is, what the Doppler effect shift is going to be. There's usually an uplink frequency and a downlink frequency. So he's taking care of it, and the computer actually controls most of it. Once it's into the program, the computer will know where that satellite's going to be, where it's going to come up, and if you look, it's moving right now. He's logging in on a satellite coming from somewhere. Later on tonight, most likely the International Space Station will come over us. We're hoping. Since it's field day, most likely they will be on the air making contact.
It's not on. That satellite isn't on, Curtis. Sure would be one. Basically, that's the satellite that died and came back to life.
Yeah.
So it has no battery capacity. It just has solar cells.
This is listed as 10 meter on here.
Yeah, it actually had a 10-meter transponder in it. And when I ran the pass, it must have just taken the A mode.
Yeah.
But the pass is the pass.
Ah, right.
So unfortunately, this is a shame because this one's right overhead, but probably somebody's put too much power in it. And when it does that, it resets, and then until the ground controllers turn it back on again, it's dead. Only made one satellite contact anyway. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
It was busy, wasn't it?
It was busy. There was a station calling us, but I couldn't hear their call sign.
Yeah, they were kind of in and out. That was probably somebody with a handheld antenna.
Maybe.
And they were sort of on and off.
Yeah.
You know, it was pretty amazing that we made contact with that little station we had last year. We were lucky to do it. I think it helped that we waited till like 11 o'clock at night. We were the only ones crazy enough to be out there with a flashlight doing it. Right?
Now the stations over here, this again is, this is actually a very special station. This is called the Go-To tent, Get on the Air tent. The fellow in there is Ira. He will take people who don't have a license or have just gotten a license and let you try out being a ham operator. He'll he'll sit there, he'll explain the frequencies to you, the band plan to you, and exactly how to do it, which is really pretty simple. It's CQ, CQ, N1FD calling CQ. Now you just wait for somebody to answer your CQ. And then you talk. And in a competition like this, what you want to know is your signal strength to them, their location, your location, give them your location. Say thank you and move on to the next one, because the more contacts you make, the better it is. And again, it shows how complete our national communication system can be. It's very good. So if any of you want to try this on the way back, you're more than welcome to. Ira loves teaching people.
Tell you what we're doing. You probably observed most of it. All right. This is the National Field Day from 2 o'clock today until 2 o'clock tomorrow. Amateur radio stations and clubs like us all over the United States are trying to communicate with each other. Sounds like we're going nuts, doesn't it? But what we're trying to prove is that we can operate with emergency power. We're operating on generators, not regular power, and makeshift antennas, which you see out in the field. The antenna that we're using is in the field behind there that you can't see, but you see we've got a big tall tower about 60 feet high. And at the bottom of that tower are a couple of radios, and we are connected to those radios by this Ethernet cable. All right? So this is a operating head for those radios. We're operating them by remote control through this Ethernet cable. Okay? Amateur radio is authorized to operate on many bands. The one we're operating on is called 40 meters. Okay, and in this area, the green, that's the frequency we can operate on. So if you look up here on the radio, you can see that the last contact we made was at 7.211 megahertz. Okay, so we got quite a few in there. This display, if you can see it, the sun's not helping us very much, but you can see all those little spikes along there. We're looking at a piece of the band that I just showed you. Okay, and every single one of those spikes is a radio station. All right, so you can see there's a lot of them. The problem is that now, since a while, you see 2, 3 of them in the same place. All right, and you got to kind of sort them out before you can communicate with them. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to try to find somebody to talk to. All right, and then we'll go to this script over here, which I will show you in a minute. Okay. All right, and this is the microphone that you're going to use. This button over here is a push to talk. If you want to talk, you just squeeze it. Okay, hold the microphone about here. Okay, when you're done, just let go. Okay, which is going to be very quick. All right. All right, let's see what we can find.
Phone or 40 CW. It's possible. Okay, so not on phone, so now we got it. All right, take care. This is Whiskey 3 1 Delta, Southern New Jersey. Good luck. CQ Field Day, CQ Field Day, CQ Field Day, CQ Field Day. November 2, Oscar Bravo. November 2, Oscar Bravo, Field Day.
Kilo 4, Uniform Sierra. This is Kilo Charlie 1, Echo Mike Juliet.
Kilo Charlie 1, Echo Mike, again.
Read this. Go ahead.
Kilo Charlie 1, Echo Mike Juliet.
You got to stay there long enough to get your call. Okay, he's marginal. Let's go somewhere else.
Okay.
Sounded like he was coming in pretty good. The band is moving south and west.
Tonight, secure Field Day from November 3, Victor Zulu.
I think we already worked him.
Yeah, November 2, Alpha Radio copy.
Well, the first guy's going to work. Sorry.
Alpha 2, Alpha Eastern Pennsylvania. Thank you. Good luck. Whiskey 3, Yankee America Field Day.
Good for you.
Awesome.
All right. Now let's get him in the lock. Yeah, he had a good strong signal. So when somebody has a good strong signal like that, a lot of people try to contact him. You're going to say K2 Victor November, Kilo 2 Victor November. This is Kilo Charlie 1 Echo Mike Juliet. Once he acknowledges us, you're going to come back and say, we are 7 Alpha, November Hotel, QSL. Got it? You know, the band is shifting. You know, it's going south and west. and we're having a little trouble. You guys want to take a turn?
She's next. Nope.
She's next?
I'm going to be here all day.
Okay. He's going to try maybe 1 or 2 more, and then we'll let you get John.
Now, if I have a call sign, do I use this one or
You have to
mine?
use this one.
I have to use that one.
Yeah, this is the Goddess station, and we have a separate call sign from all the other people here. Everybody else is using N1FP. Okay? But because we're a Goddess station, we have to use a separate call. Stand by, get ready. Put the mic up to your mouth. What did I tell you?
1 Alpha, Quebec, Charlie. 1 Alpha, Quebec, Charlie. Go ahead. Roger, 1 Alpha, Quebec, Charlie. Thank you for looking at the contest. 73. 73. CQ Field Day, CQ Field Day. Kilo 2, Victor November.
Go!
Kilo 2, Victor November. This is Kilo Charlie 1, Echo Mike Juliet.
Kilo Charlie 1, Echo Mike, Juliet.
Wait.
Please copy K2VN. We are 3 Alpha NLI. Over.
We are 7 Alpha November Hotel QSL.
No, 7 Alpha November Hotel. Thank you for the new one. 73. Good luck in the contest.
Say 73.
73.
Good. Whiskey 2, Sky Station again.
All right, man.
You did it.
You got Long Island.
Uh-huh.
Stay there for a second, would you?
Sure.
Let's put it in our log. I'll try another one. Okay. Hang on a second. I'm going to give you a second.
Figure this out.
You are. You are a certified field dayer. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming by.
Very fun.
So the club offers courses that will help to get you your technician license, your general license, and the most advanced, which is the extra license. And some of the best teachers are right here in this club. There's a place where we go to in Nashua. Classrooms, the best teachers, and what they'll do is they will help you get licensed, and they'll give you some experience right there in the classroom. And Fred right over there is like the best teacher ever. We're going through some of the technical stuff in electronics and wavelength and things like that, and it's something everybody can get their technician license. So it's not that daunting. Anyway, that's the Nashua Area Radio Club, and they offer the licenses and the training to get the license.
Just made our first 20-point bonus. Okay, he's done 21 QSOs all over the place on 20
Just did 22.
Okay, you make 22.
Just did 22.
Just made 22. We're good.
See, the best part about Field Day is seeing everybody have fun here. And boy, it's really been an active group. Our score is almost 3 times, more than 3 times what it was when I left here last night at about 10 o'clock. So folks are obviously operating really hard. All this equipment's working pretty good. We got 3 towers up this year, including a new remote one that's a 60-footer. Software-defined radios over here. We got Mike hammering away at Riddy, and a lot of other good activity going on. So people are just having a ton of fun.
I think the thing I enjoy about Field Day is just doing just the different things that you don't normally get to do. You don't have the equipment. It's,
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.